If you don't yet know how to say the scary sound in Russian, you're in luck.
No problem.
I found the exact equivalent in English, and by the end of this video, you'll learn how to say it like a native, guaranteed. Do you know why I can make a perfect Because I grew up speaking Russian. In early childhood, we naturally recognize and reproduce sounds to form new words. As grown-ups, we tend to reverse the process. Memorize the spelling of a new word and then try to squeeze those early sounds in. With a foreign language, they don't always fit as well as we would like. Seems kind of hopeless. But wait a minute. My friends, we just found an English word that sounds exactly like So what are you waiting for? Go practice! Just kidding, achievers! Let's practice together. Use chapters in the description to jump between words, and on the mobile app, tap the circular arrows to repeat the same word 2 or 3 times. Let's start with simple, one-syllable words and then make it a little harder. We'll need our regular sound m with directly following. Pro tip: you'll want to drag the sound out a little. Now, put the 2 sounds together and we have the perfect мы, which is we in Russian. Say it with me, just like that, a few more times. Мы. Great! Let's keep on building. Next we add the sound sh at the end of мы and get мышь, which is a mouse in Russian. We added 1 sound but 2 letters. Ша, which makes the sound sh, and мягкий знак, soft sign, which is silent. Say it with me. Мышь, мышь, мышь. Now, did you remember to use between m and sh? I know, after all these years of speaking English, you may be tempted to use one of the vowel sounds you learned as a kid. Don't. You don't want it to sound like mish or mish, unless you're trying to get attention of a friendly bear. Bear is медведь in Russian, but we sometimes call him Mikhail, you know, like Gorbachev, or Misha for short. And to ask the bear, where are you? We would say, Mish, ты где?
The woods is no place for a bear.
Say with me, Mish, ты где? Wanna know where to find this bear? Look for the link in the description and in the pinned comment. Before continuing, I'd like to give a shout out to a regular viewer on A+ Russian, Min Miao. By the way, Min, is it Min or Mынь? What about the rest of you achievers? Can some of your names be pronounced with an U? I can already think of one. William. Would you agree? Tell me in the comments and let's keep going. So our last example, Миш, ты где? Wasn't just about a cute way to call a bear. It also featured our next U word, ты, which is you in Russian. Take a regular t sound and add a slightly longer Say it with me. Ты. Starbucks may have left Russia, but it's still here in the US, and the famous pumpkin spice lattes are back. It's my favorite seasonal drink, and today we are going to learn how to say pumpkin in Russian. We'll take ты and add kva at the end, with letters k, v and a. The stress is still on ты, so altogether we get tykva. Remember to use after the t sound when you say it with me. Tykva, tykva, tykva. Do you know what's another way to say you in Russian? I'll give you a hint. It's used in plural or when addressing someone who is unfamiliar, older, or otherwise highly respected. If you said вы, you are correct. And to get a perfect вы, we take our usual v sound and add a slightly longer вы. Say it with me. Вы. Good work, achievers! Let's keep on climbing to our next E word, высота, which is height in Russian. This time we are adding 4 letters S, O, T, A. The stress is on the last syllable, so the unstressed letter O is pronounced as A. Combining вы and сата, we get высота. Say it with me. Высота, высота, высота. So how are we feeling after learning that 6-letter word? Ready to do 7 or more next? Let's cool off first by learning more one-syllable words and then turn it up again. Here is the drill. We'll identify the first and the last sound and insert our friend ugh. Ready, achievers? Let's go. D, U, and M makes dым, which is smoke in Russian. Remember to draw out the and say with me dым, dым, dым. Next, let's take M, add U, and finish it up with S. Мыс. Мыс is cape in Russian, a part of land that sticks out into a body of water. So here in Washington State, Cape Flattery is the farthest you can go northwest before leaving the United States. Say it with me. Мыс, мыс, мыс. Next up is сын, a combination of s, u, and n. This word sounds very similar to its English meaning. Can you guess what it is?
Quick, you guys gotta help me.
Say it with me. Сын, сын, сын. Another question before we go on. Did you notice that the second word мыс began with the first word дым ended on m, and that the same thing happened with сын and мыс? In Russian we call it играть в слова. It's a game where all you need is words. Say it with me. Играть в слова. To continue learning Russian words, click or tap the video on the screen, and I'll see you there, achievers!